good life, the good life, yeah. I ain't gotta worry about a thing. Oh no. Had some obstacles I overcame. Oh yeah. You don't have to ever be the same. Oh Lord. Cause when we change the mind, we change the game. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch.
Yo, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's happening, y'all? Welcome. I think I gotta. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. I had to cut myself off really quick, y'all. My fault. You know what was happening just now, y'all? I think I just had the YouTube on my show. That's on my
Oh,
on my. So yeah, so that's what was happening. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Kenneth
was
Allen
good.
Thomas Show. We are here. There's small technical difficulties and everything happening right now, but welcome everybody to the show. My co-host Nick and Guy. What's happening, fellas?
You already know. We ready.
What
Let's
up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up?
Listen, we got it. We got a highly impactful show for you guys today. So I hope everybody is ready. I hope everybody is well. We missed you guys last week. We weren't able to get on and everything last week. We needed a small little break, regroup, but we are back here once again. Yes. Now, really quick announcements, everyone. So before we get started, man of the year, man, woman of the year, y'all, is coming up. It's coming up. It's heavy right now. It's heavy. It's coming up. And I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of information that's happening right now. It is going to kick off March 29th. March 29th, the kickoff for the Man Woman of the Year campaign. So I cannot wait to get started with that. And if you guys want to be able to join us on the Man Woman of the Year campaign, all you got to do is go to this link that's right here, and it'll be also in the chat as well too. So you guys can go ahead and click that link below and you'll be able to get in on what we are doing as far as raising money for blood cancer and helping those defeat cancer all the way through those that battle with leukemia, lymphoma. I can't wait for it to kick off. But other than that, gentlemen, how was y'all week? Y'all was good?
I loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it, man. Listen, I had some wins. I want to share them with y'all.
Go ahead,
Um,
man.
man, I
Let's
definitely
dive into the wins, bro. Let's dive into the wins. What happened?
got to dive into the wins, man. My daughter, she left the softball camp in Florida. She got there safe. She played her first scrimmage, first year of high school softball, all star everything here in South Jersey, all star everything in North Jersey.
Let's
Now
go.
she's going to high school and she
Let's
is
go.
trying to get that college scholarship, man. So let's
Let's
go.
go. Let's go.
That's
Let's
Love
go.
it.
official.
Let's
That's
She's
go.
been
official. That's
calling me a
official.
lot. She's been calling me a lot. She's 15 years old and she's about to be 15 years old. And I'm not expecting too many phone calls. And she's been calling me a lot, asking me advice, telling me about her day. Man, it makes me feel great. Makes me feel great.
That's what's
That's
up.
dope, man. That's
Let's
dope.
go.
That's dope. Nick, what you got, Nick?
Man, listen, I'm just honestly, I'm just happy to be here, man. Listen, with everything that's going on in the world, I'm glad that I'm safe, my family's safe. I'm glad that I'm able to do this with y'all fellas, you know what I'm saying? Put some
Amen.
positive
Yeah.
energy into the world, you know what I'm saying? I'm all
Yes,
for,
sir.
you know what I'm saying? So I'm good. You know what I'm saying? That's where it's at.
I love it. I love it. Listen. I got some wins, man. I am, we actually, you know, not a huge win, but it is a good win. Today we went viral again. Viral again for I don't know how many times we done gone viral, but this same video keeps going viral, and this time it went viral on LinkedIn. This time, so that was super huge. The same video, Christian's cancer free, 39 months now cancer free. So big up to Christian and everything that's going on, man. It's so good to every
Amen.
month or every other month that we go to the doctors and everything, the scans come back clear. There's no cancer and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's amazing, you know. But
Amen.
tonight, y'all, tonight we getting into a topic tonight that is pretty interesting, right? Pretty interesting. You know, a lot of times people go through dark times, right? And when they go through dark times, many things happen. You can't see, you trip over things, you stumble over things, especially when you're in a dark space. And how many people, put it in the chat, guys, how many people have actually been in that dark space? And when you're in that dark space, you don't know exactly how to get out. What happens when you're in that dark space? You you get anxiety hits, right? The depression hits, right? The worries hit, right? You're not able to see, right? Because you don't even see the light. And tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, what do you do when the light turns out, right? What do
Mm.
you do when the light turns out, right? And what the one thing that I found out that was super super interesting is that when Guy gave me the topic, I thought about my own light. I thought about
Mm.
my own time when the light turned out, right? Let me take y'all fellas back a little bit. About maybe 8 years ago, maybe a little bit long, maybe like 9 years ago. And at this point in my life, there was so much that was happening as far as like dance goes, where there wasn't a lot of dance jobs going on. There was like a small recession that was happening, and the lights turned out, literally. Right? I couldn't even pay. I didn't have enough money to pay the electric, fellas. I didn't have enough money to pay the electric. I didn't have enough money to pay my car note. I didn't have enough money to pay my rent. Like everything was just like going crazy. This is right before I got with Josie.
Mhm.
And I remember I was in my apartment, and at this time it was I was dancing in my living room just to stay warm, right?
Mm.
Because the lights turned out, the heater was broken. It was the middle of winter right here in Jersey. Y'all know it get cold. So for me, I was like, man, like what am I gonna do? And a lot of times what happens is when the lights turn out, pride kicks in. I'm gonna say that again. A lot of times when the lights turn out, pride can oftentimes kick in. And when pride
Yeah.
kicks in, you go deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole, and you don't even want to get out because you don't even you think that you're shining a light, but in reality you're really walking in darkness. Like how many times do you fellas see like somebody on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere on social media where really they're trying to put this persona of everything is okay when it's really, not okay? How many times you guys see that? I'll
Hey
pass it to
man,
anybody.
hey man, that's all the time. That's all the
Yeah.
time. I mean, I see it often where um we're all just kind of looking for hope,
Mm,
right? We're looking for something to uh motivate us and encourage us, and but at the same time we put on a happy face, right?
yeah.
We put on that happy face. Then pictures when we out and about, pictures when the day is great, the pictures when we're having this great meal. And don't get me wrong, I'm blessed to be able to have those experiences in my life, but deep down inside, I need help.
Right.
I
Right.
need help. I need you know, someone to just bounce ideas off of, someone to talk about my stresses, someone to talk about my day, you know,
Mm,
those types of things. But I know for a fact, you see that all the time where those pictures of when things are so great,
right.
and we are just looking for more of something that
Let
is
me
missing in our life.
right. Right. Let me ask you fellas this, yo. What was the darkest time in your life,
Mm,
and how did you get I'm going deep. Like, what was the darkest time in your
wow.
life and how did you get through it? What did you do?
Go ahead, Nick.
Man, dang, we going straight into it today.
Wow.
All right,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
This is what we're doing.
For the sake of the community, I'm gonna just put it out there. So I actually was at a point ready to commit suicide about maybe my sophomore year of college,
Mm,
Mm,
right? I was like doubting whether or not I really belonged there, right? I was in a fraternity. I was, surrounded by people, whether or not they were my friends or not, different story, but I was surrounded by a lot of people. And, I was kind of like in and out of different activities or whatever the case is, but I didn't really feel like I belonged there. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like, yo, like you're a failure. You're gonna fail at this. You're not really gonna succeed. You know what I'm saying? Like I was feeling like a fraud because I kind of felt like, yo, I really just did not belong in that college setting. So I
right.
kept telling myself, like, yo, you know what? The best thing for you to do before everybody finds out that you're a fraud,
Mhm.
just end it. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
just end it. Just take your life, just end it.
mm,
And I had like a period where, like I said, I was in a fraternity. You know what I'm saying? Like people are having parties and everything else like that, and they're like, "Yo, Nick, where you at?" You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, like I'm not interested. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not chill. I'm not really trying to go, whatever the case is. And my dean hit me up, and he was like, yo, man, like what's going on? And he was like, yo, you ain't really been showing up to a whole lot of activities. Like I wasn't going to meetings. I wasn't going to parties. I wasn't going to different events. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm,
was barely going to class. I was starting to fail. It's almost like I was setting myself up to fail so that I
mm,
could then justify the fact that I didn't belong because I had failed out. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a self-fulfilling kind of a thing, right?
right.
And he came to me, he was just like, yo, let's talk. And I was like, ain't nothing really to talk about. I was like, yo, honestly, like I don't belong here. I'm not really feeling it. And I wasn't really trying to tell him like what was going on, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so he just had a sense. So he was just like, yo, man, like let's really talk. And so when we sat down, he was like, yo, man, just be honest with me.
Mm,
And I was just like, yo, like, what's it gonna matter? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, I'm gonna tell you what it is because I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do anyway. And he really just he sat me down and he was just like, yo, he was just like, there's so much more that's ahead of you right now than what's behind you, you know?
mm,
And he was just like, wherever you are right now, if you didn't deserve to be here, you really just would not have made it this far.
yeah.
So he was like, look, you got two options right now. You can either go down the road that you're choosing to go down, you know what I'm saying, take your life, end it, you know what I'm saying, and then, okay, it's all over. And he's like, what is that worth? Or he said, you could start looking at yourself and look at the value that you actually have in front of you. You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? And even though he said those words to me, I had to believe it. You know what I'm saying? I really had to start looking at it and, adjusting my thinking. And so I had to really just look at myself and say, like, yo, like, all right, why do you want to end this? You know what I'm saying? And really, it was just because I was afraid of what could be. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And like I said, I was so focused on presenting myself as like being a fraud that I was just kind of like, nah, like I can't be here.
Mm,
You know, and thankfully it was him and also my boy's mom. She was going to church all the time, and I was not going to church. I was not a church person at all. I didn't grow up
mm,
in the church. Wasn't really the thing. Like the most I had was my grandma would pray a little bit and to be like, all right, whatever, grandma. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me know when you're
right.
done. Let's go do something. So,
Right. Right.
you know what I'm saying? So it just wasn't my thing. So, she would pray for me and she would always just, my friend's mom would always just tell me, like, she's like, yo, no matter what it is, call me, just let me know. Like, I got you,
Mm,
and
mm,
I heard her, but I wasn't really like listening like that. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? And then when I got to this point, interestingly enough, like almost like right after I finished talking to my dean, she gave me a call and she just wanted to check on me. She was just like, yo, I just want you to know, you know what I'm saying, that I love you. She's like, you're not one of mine, but you one of mine. You know what I'm saying?
wow.
That one of those things.
Yeah.
And so she
Yeah.
was just like, yo, like, I just want you to know that I love you. And so, you know what I'm saying, just within those two individuals and having that conversation, it was just kind of like, yo, man, like, just don't go into all the darkness. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
don't lean into it and sit there and wallow in it. Instead, turn it around and start moving in a better direction. And it took a while. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
it took a solid, almost like a solid year for me to try to get myself out of my own head
Mm,
and start moving in a better direction. You know what I
right.
mean? And I'll say that I had people there, but the truth is I
Mhm,
really didn't because I didn't really let people in. Like outside of that one
mm,
conversation that I had with my dean, I really didn't let anybody else in. And I really didn't let anybody else in until I met my wife almost like 3 years later.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So the truth is, like I know people have like these miraculous stories, like, oh, they was in the darkness, they saw the light, all of a sudden they came out of it. Like, no, like that one year
Nah.
was
Yeah.
me just kind of sort of like inching towards more light and less darkness, but I wasn't out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like
Right.
when you see like a light in the distance and you're kind of like, all right, I'm gonna try to go to that as best as I can. That's really what I was doing. It was like, yo, I'm gonna try to head there as best as I can,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until really like years later and a lot of work,
Wow.
you know what I'm saying, that it changes. So I would say that my light probably came on, I would say maybe 6 years after, you
Mm,
know what I'm saying, that time of where I was in like utter darkness, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
So it was a process and it was a period and it was a lot of work in a
man.
lot of different ways before the light actually came on. And this may sound cliche-ish, but the light then came on when I found Christ. You know what I'm
Wow.
There you
saying?
go.
And when
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
saved, and so you're talking about from 1999 all the way to 2005, I was
Wow.
in darkness with a lot of, I mean, like a lot of battles and a lot of craziness. And it wasn't until I found Jesus and I kind of had my, Damascus Road experience that all of a sudden now it was like, okay, now I'm actually coming out of that darkness and starting to walk into the light. But I mean, like I was on like the edge of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't like
Mm,
deep into it. I was on the edge of it, and it continued to take work. You know what I'm saying? For me to come out of it. So it was a journey. You know, it
that's
was a journey. It
crazy.
was hard, and I had to admit some things to myself. And that's the thing that I think I probably learned the most is I was
Mm,
not being honest with myself. I was being more pessimistic. I wasn't
mm,
being honest about the positive aspects of things. You know, some people lie to themselves about everything they do is great, right? But then there's some of us that tell ourselves that everything that we do is bad, you
mm.
know,
Yes,
and
yes.
some of that comes from how you're raised, your upbringing, you know, people around you, whatever the case is, you know, where you have different responses, right? In some regards, you can choose to go against the grain of what people are saying and say, you're
Mm,
all telling me I'm not good enough. Well, I'm gonna show you that I'm good enough, right? Then
mm,
there's other people who are just like, you're telling me I'm not good enough. All right, I'm gonna believe that, you know. And so I had to work on what's really in front of me. Am I really that good? No, I'm not really that good. But am I really that bad also? No, I'm not really that bad. I'm somewhere
mm.
in the middle, right? So let me
Right.
work on that middle ground. And then whatever I need to get better at, let me work on getting better at that and take my time with myself. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
mean, look, it's almost like 20, 30 years later, and I'm still just now learning how to be gracious to myself. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
How to be patient with myself because I haven't been, you know, and I still have those remnants, but it's not as bad as it used to be.
Right. Right. Wow, bro. That's such a deep story, man, because I can attest to this, yo. Like for me, I would say like from my 20s, like all my 20s, like from like 20 till about 29, um, I dealt with periods of darkness. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say my whole 20s was darkness, right? But I would say I dealt with periods of darkness. And I would dare even say that I dealt with periods of embracing the darkness. You know what I'm saying? If I'm being honest, where there was the smoking, there was the drinking, there was the party life, there was, all that was that aspect, getting with this girl, getting with that girl, like, you know what I'm saying? But that a lot of that dealt with from, you know, me having to learn how to deal with uh the 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 divorce that I was going through, right? The
Right,
woman that I was with prior, you know what I'm saying? Like
right.
it was a lot of that was happening, where I'm this husband at 21 years old, not knowing how to be a husband, not knowing how to be a father, right? Not knowing necessarily how to be a real leader, even though it was in me, I just didn't know how to be. And dealing with fight after fight after fight, it was like nothing was ever really good enough, right? Nothing was good enough in my marriage. Nothing was good enough from me being a dancer, at that time as well either. Like it wasn't really, I wasn't good enough. And I always kind of felt like that, like where I wasn't really good enough for stuff. And then the moment where I broke off from my ex-wife, you know, like I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was like, yo, I'm gonna do me. I didn't even go to God. Like I went to God for a moment, and then I was like, all right, cool, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel better, and then I'm gonna go. But that was the thing. Like he was telling me to still stay connected, but I wasn't, and I kept going. I kept getting in this relationship, but that relationship, and I would think that relationships were my healing, right? I needed to be with somebody in order to actually heal, but that wasn't the case. I needed to learn how to be with God more and learn how to do that. But I didn't really learn that till I turned 30 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I feel you because it's like we go through these periods of darkness and it's like, what do you do? Right? Who do you turn to? Right? But the thing is that for me, I grew up in the church. So there was a seed that was already planted. I just wasn't watering the garden. Go ahead, guy.
Man, that's powerful, both of y'all. I mean, I commend y'all. A lot of what you guys were saying, um, bits and pieces of it remind me of myself. Similar to you, Kenny, a divorce kind of led me to God, and that's kind of what set me free. But that was the darkest time in my life, right? Darkest
Mm,
time in my life when I was unsure of myself, right?
mm,
I needed to be validated by my ex-wife. I needed to be validated as a great husband, a great father, a great leader, and I just wasn't getting that. Yeah, attention. I would think that I needed a little more of it from my spouse, from my partner at the time. But I'll tell you, what made it so dark for me was that there was nothing around me that was working. Right. I definitely hung my hat on the fact that I was a great father. I always been a great father, present, I'm active, all of that, but nothing was never enough. So like you guys said, there were a lot of things that you guys said that just kind of like resonated to me, right? It wasn't never enough, never enough, never enough. And I always needed more. I always needed more, time. I always needed more attention. I always needed more party. I always needed more liquor. I always needed more everything. And in that time, I was really, really, really trying to find myself, right? Who I was, what was, because I was always trying to be somebody, something for somebody else, whether it be my wife, whether it be my kids, and I had to find myself. And so after my divorce was frankly, my divorce was traumatic for me, right?
Mm,
Traumatic to the point where I didn't know where to turn, didn't have anywhere to turn. I didn't have any references of a successful marriage, of a successful relationship. I had nobody I wanted to ask for advice because I didn't want to feel like a failure, right? So I didn't want to be labeled a failure to anybody because I was already labeling myself a failure.
mm,
Failure to marriage, failure as a father, and that hurt more than anything because I'm hanging my hat on being a great father. This particular thing tainted tainted that, right? I couldn't be successful enough as a husband to be a great father.
right.
Um, and I always believed in a nuclear family because I really didn't have one, right? Us
Mm,
all being together, and that's what I always wanted, right? And so from there, that's kind of what turned my life around. And when God turned my life around, man, he took alcohol from me.
mm,
Um, he took the party life from me. Don't get me wrong, I don't not do like anything in my life, but at the same time, just to the amount of which I used to do it is nowhere close, nowhere near. Family if family goes out or something happens, I go out with them. But at the same time, I think for me, it's more the level of which I was lost, the level of darkness. When I say it was pitch black, it was like there was
mm,
nothing. There was
mm,
nothing around me. There was nobody who could penetrate it. And it was just a lost feeling. And
right.
man, did God bring me out? Yes, He did. I found two gentlemen like yourselves to just make me feel like I was somebody, like a brother,
Right.
fellow, fellowship, just being able to be loved unconditionally. The Lord is that, right? But
Amen.
he puts people around you. He puts people around you. Don't be blind to the people that He puts around you to pull you out of that light. I mean, to pull you out
Amen.
of that darkness and into the light. So,
Yeah, man. And I mean, I think that's a great point because I think sometimes what we do is when you walk into that darkness and then you start to sit in it, right? What you don't pay attention to is the fact that there are people that are not leaving you alone. You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? There are people who are not letting you stay there. They're trying to figure out what they can do to pull you out of that darkness, right? And I think sometimes you have to be willing to lean into that and embrace it. And even if you feel like there isn't anyone there, I think the reality is looking at why are you sitting in whatever that darkness is, and
yeah.
do you really want to be there, right? Because I think sometimes that's the hard part is being able to ask ourselves the questions. Because the truth is this: we all know when we're in that darkness, and the
yeah,
truth is we don't feel good about it. Like
Nah.
no one feels good about being in the darkness. So if you know that you don't feel good about it, then that lets you know that that's not really where you want to be, right?
Mm,
So now what you have to do is just work on telling yourself, all right, let me get to that place that I want to be because where I'm at is not where I want to be. You know what I'm
right.
saying? It may be because of things that have happened in your life, like you were talking about, Guy. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, it wasn't that something happened. I
Mm,
just didn't really value myself the way that I should have. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Whereas like what you were speaking to, Guy, like you had something traumatic happen. you know, and in either scenario, taking a look at it and saying, all right, so where do I go from here? Right. And again, I think in that period in time, that is where I built that mindset of, listen, life is only 10% of what happens to you. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
It's so small, but we give it more weight than it needs to. It's like, this happened to me, so now my world is coming to an end. It's not. You know what I'm saying? This
Right.
happened to you. And so now it then gives you a wake up call, and it calls you to attention to then say, what are you gonna do from here? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Okay, you failed the test. Okay, you didn't get into that school. Okay, you didn't
Mm.
get that job. Okay, you didn't get that woman. You didn't get that man. Okay, guess what? That man, that woman said they leaving you. Okay, God forbid you lose a child or you lose a parent. Where do you go from here?
Right.
Because the
Mm.
fact that that happened, it happened. You
It
can't
happened.
then blame everything on that and then say, all right, my world's come to an end now because of that. Yes, you're going to hurt. Yes, you're going to be in pain. And part of the process is being able to acknowledge and embrace it. Sometimes
Right.
the issue is that because we don't embrace and acknowledge the things that are affecting us, we stay in darkness because we never really deal with it.
Right.
Mm.
You know?
Right. I love that because being 8 years removed, right? There was some things you said earlier, Nick, that was crazy. You said there was so much more. Your man said there's so much more ahead than there is behind, right?
Yeah.
We're afraid to focus on our issues and ourselves, right?
Mhm.
We're so afraid to face ourselves in the end.
Why is that though? Why is that?
That's good. I think it's because it'll point out flaws that we may have, and
Mm.
we don't wanna admit that we have. Like I
Mm.
said, being 8 years removed, I mean, it took me some time to get out of that dark place, right?
Yeah.
There were people around, but like Nick said, there were people around, and there were around. Would I let them in? That's totally different, right? And so you don't want to let them in. You don't want to admit a lot of things a lot of places you're lacking in. I felt like, and when I really realized it, I saw how selfish I was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who wants to admit that they're wired selfishly, right? That they have
Right.
this
Boom.
selfishness.
Boom.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
Yeah. And that's, and to answer your question, Kenny, right? Following up on what
Mhm.
Guy said, that's what it is. We like to lie. That's
go
why.
Right.
ahead,
We
go
like to
ahead,
lie. You know what
go
I'm saying?
ahead.
How, like, think about people that you meet that are authentically themselves.
Mhm.
Most people are thrown off by that. Why is
Right.
she so loud? Why is this person so honest? Why are they so? Because what we're comfortable with is somebody not being willing to tell us the honest truth. Yo,
Yeah.
you don't look good in that shirt.
Nope.
What? What you mean I don't look good? I'm sorry, but you
Right.
don't. You know what I'm
You
Right,
saying?
don't.
Like, you don't look good in that shirt. I mean, you a female. Yeah, I know you got boobs, but your boobs is about to pop out and like feed
Right.
the entire community. Like, that
Right.
doesn't really look good right now. But
Right.
people ain't gonna say that. So what they gonna say is, oh, you look nice. Oh, you. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but we got to be honest. You know what I'm saying? So we're not
Mm.
willing to be honest with ourselves. Yo, guess what? I gained a little bit of weight. I don't look good right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what? I'm not eating healthy. I'm not taking care of myself. Yo, I ain't shaved in 5 days. I don't
Yeah.
look good. I need to groom myself. We're not willing to be honest with ourselves.
Right.
right,
So
Right.
right.
we get into these areas where now, when we're around other people and everything else, we got to continue to live that facade again. Fake social media, right? How many people on social media are actually living the lives that they're posting on social media?
Exactly.
Not many.
Not
You know
even.
what I'm saying?
Not maybe.
So we spend
Maybe
way
one
too much
percent.
time lying to ourselves, right? So that we can try to convince ourselves of something and then convince other people of that,
Right.
rather than just saying, like, yo, I have deficiencies, I have
Right.
flaws. Guess what? I got rage in me. I got anger in me, and I got to
Mhm.
deal with that. And so, guess what? If I focus and I deal with that, when you meet me, you know, if you get me in the wrong place, you're going to get anger and frustration. So now, if I'm honest with you about that, you already know. Now, what you choose to do, all right, if it gets there, as opposed to, no, 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 I'm a great individual. I'm calm, cool, collected, because, you know, I'm a Christian. So you ain't never going to see me sweat. No, 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 no. You're going to see me sweat. You're gonna
Yeah.
you gonna see me cry. You're gonna see
Yeah.
me get angry.
All
You
of that.
gonna see the,
All of
the
that.
emotion and
All
the
of that.
passion. So
All of
understand that
that.
that's who you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like when Christian went to the hospital, right? Listen, everybody saw it. I wasn't out here trying to be macho. I wasn't out here trying to be like, oh, like, listen, yes, I was positive. Yes, I was positive, but I was also afraid in some ways. You know what I'm saying? Did I let fear take over? Absolutely not. Right? Did I let fear creep into my mind and stay there? Absolutely not. Right? Did it creep in? Yeah, it crept in, but it's not going to stay there because I sent it away. We got to understand what type of power that we really possess, right? And a lot of times people don't understand the type of power that they possess. They look themselves in the mirror and then they walk away quickly and forget who they were, right? They forgot who they saw in the mirror. They didn't see the person that God created in the mirror. If we're created, let's put it like this: if we're created in the image of God, right? If we're created in the image of God and we look in the mirror and we don't recognize that person, that's a problem, right? That's a problem if you're saying to yourself, I don't recognize who this person is right now, right? So therefore, what is Nick saying? Listen, we gotta fix that. We gotta fix it. We gotta fix that and deal with that, so that we can move on to this next level here. But at the same time, like come to grips with the truth, right? Let's start normalizing the real truth of who you are, right? Where you're at right now. I'm not talking about where you was at 5 years ago. Now, I'm not talking about who you want to be. No, who are you, right? And that's the one thing that we miss so much, and it's so and it frustrates people time and time again. Because what do? We got to be Superman. We got to be Superwoman, right? Guys, let me tell y'all this really quick. I got a stat that 76% of American women, right, put everybody else before themselves. They'll do 10 hours worth of serving other people before they even get a pedicure, before they even get a manicure, before they even go do their hair, before they even put makeup on, before they even do whatever it is that they got to do. 76% of women do that, right? And then you wonder why, women like they always have this thing where I don't know who I am. I don't even know who I am. Why? Because you're too busy being a mom, too busy being a wife, too busy being a worker, too busy doing this, and you haven't done for yourself yet. We have this whole misconception of work-life balance that
Right,
people put work before life, and that's
right,
part of the problem, right? They
right.
sitting there putting work before life. Your life comes first. Comes
Yeah,
first. The work is always going to be there, man. The work is
yeah.
always going to be there. The work was here before you even got here. But guess what? Your life comes before the work.
Right, right. You know what? There's something in here called responsibility too, right? We not only have to admit things to ourselves, right? But we have to take responsibility for turning the lights on. We could talk realistically, we could talk when your lights are out in your house. It's up to us. The
Mhm,
only way they're gonna turn on is when you flip the switch. You gotta turn them on, right? But when
mhm,
times get hard and times get rough, not only do we have to admit things to ourselves, it's part of the process of us turning the lights on. You can't depend on somebody else because nobody else is gonna fix it for you. Nothing, not alcohol ain't gonna do it for you.
nope.
Going out ain't gonna do it for you. You have to confront this yourself, and you have to go at it so that you can turn your light back on. Whether it's
Come on.
reading the word, whether it's seeking the Lord, it's going to be a responsibility of yours to seek that light.
Mm,
And
mm,
and I agree with you. I think the reality is, right, using the analogy that we're talking about, if the power goes out because a power grid goes down, right? The
Right,
reality is you can't turn on the light right there because there is a power source that you're supposed to get,
yes,
right?
Lord.
mm,
But the reality is, if you are prepared, meaning if you're connected, right, to the source, which is God, then at the end of the day, you will always have a light that's available to you, right? So,
But
what does that mean? That means that when they tell you that a storm is coming, what do? You've got your flashlights and everything else ready, right? You got to make sure you have batteries and things like that. Well, guess what? It only took one storm in my house to be out for me to
mm,
realize that guess what I need to do? I need to make sure that I have batteries. I need to make sure that I have flashlights and everything else like that. Because if I want light to be available to me when it gets dark, when everything goes out, when it feels like I'm disconnected from the power source, I got
yeah,
to be able to go to
yeah,
the true source at that point,
but
right? And so what you got to do is you got to spend time preparing yourself. which means, yes, you have to learn who God is. You have to work on having a relationship with God, because when those dark times come and they start creeping up on you and someone tries to cut you off from that power source, you can go back to your reserve and say, guess what? PSENG may not got it, but guess what? I got batteries and a flashlight because I know who it is. It's God who's got me. And so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to lean there. When mom ain't there, dad ain't there, and I feel like everybody else has forsaken me, guess what? God has not forsaken me. He's available. But if I'm not taking the time to prepare that within my spirit, if I'm not taking the time to make that available to me when I need it most, I'm not going to have it. Because if you don't buy batteries, you ain't going to have no light.
You're not gonna have
PSENG can't turn nothing on. They give you that notice. Guess what? It's gonna take 84 hours to turn your lights back on. What you gonna do?
Right. Now check this out, right? Fellas, I was in John chapter 15, right? And when you said stay connected, that hit so hard, bro, because it's the story of the vine, of the story of the vine and the branches, right? And what happens to those branches that get cut off? They're not connected to the vine anymore. Why? Because it wasn't bearing fruit, right? They wasn't bearing fruit. When we are called to be the light, right? We're called to be the light. And when we are the light, as we are the light, we're going to bear much fruit as we move forward in this life. But if we continue to stay in darkness, then we can't bear any fruit at all, right? So the thing is that we don't like getting pruned, right? We don't like getting pruned. We don't like the feeling of getting pruned. We don't. It's so uncomfortable for us to get pruned. But the reality is that we got to get pruned. The reality is that I want you to equate your getting prunedness, I guess, to you telling the truth about yourself. Right. You telling the truth about yourself is basically you pruning so that you can bear more fruit. You pruning so that you can show your scars. You can show people, like, listen, this is what I've been through. This is what I'm going through, right? But this is where I'm going at the end of the day, right? You know what I'm saying? So stay connected to the vine so that we can continue to bear fruit.
Hey, man, listen, I love that because I'm gonna take it a step further, right? I talked about this in a prayer group one time, right? I said also have some extension cords around you, right? Now we're like we have to stay connected to the source, right? But if we find ourselves distant, there's some extension cords. There's some other people that God puts in your life that are connected to the source. And what you want to do is surround yourself and connect yourself to those extension cords, right? To those ones that are going to keep you close to the source. Because there's a bunch of different extension cords out there. You know, there's long ones, there's short ones, there's ones that really don't connect to anything because they got those three things on them. You know what I mean? Right. But there are those ones like I call you guys. You know what I mean? My brothers in Christ that connect me to the source when I'm down, when I'm out. Look, I'm not perfect. I'm still a work in progress. I don't always do the right things, but at the same time, I am connected to these extension cords that are connected to the source. When I lose my way, when I get in that mood, because we all have our moods, right? I connect to one of those extension cords. So surround yourself. I'm talking to the viewers. Connect to a quality extension cord that is connected to the source. So if you're not connected to the source at times, there are those that are.
Amen.
And I would follow that up with, like we talked about, sometimes the reason why we end up in darkness, right, is because we're not taking care of ourselves. I mean, Kenny, what you were talking about, I mean, I take a look at so many women who are willing to sacrifice so much and don't take a second out for themselves, right? They will tell you that they don't have enough money to go get a manicure, or go get a pedicure, or go to the movies, go shopping, go buy this, go buy that. They'll tell you that they don't have it, but let little Johnny in the household need something. You know what I'm saying? Let, little, Tasha need something.
That's right.
And listen, mama gonna find a way.
Mama gonna find it. Mama gonna find a way.
But mama won't find a way for herself to be able to, you know what I'm saying? And that at times is where we all fall short in that. Listen, take care of others. Yes, be mindful of the community around you, but realize that you are a part of that community. Don't exclude yourself from that taking care of. You know, now don't be self-centered. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't licensed to. All right, well, listen. He said, all right, cool. Like, nah, don't put your family in bankruptcy to go get them J's. You know what I'm saying? That cost two, three, 400. Like, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? But if you really want yourself a pair of J's, then save up 20 here, 20 there, 50 here, 50
Right.
there, and then when you can, go buy the J's that you want so that you could
Right.
just feel like, yo, I did that for myself. We spend so much time trying to make it seem like, no, I can't do this, I can't do that. You can. It just requires patience. It
That's right.
requires diligence. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it requires sacrifice, not only for others, but also for yourself. Because
Yeah.
if you're willing to do that for yourself, then that's you doing self care. And if you take self care, then it helps you stay a little bit further away from the darkness rather than leaning into it,
It's
Right.
true.
you know. And so with that, you also then have to take a look at yourself and say, okay, to the point that Kenny was making, what do I need to start pruning? Am I
Hmm.
spending too much money and that's my issue? Am I eating too much and I need to stop doing that? Am I hanging around the wrong people? As guys talking about, who are your extension cords? Who are you connected to? These are all things that you got to take a look at, you know,
Right.
because there are things that we can do to make our lives what we want them to be. But if we're
Hmm.
not spending the time doing it because we're too comfortable in certain spaces and we'd rather just stay in those spaces rather than saying, how can I get better? Guess what? Yes, it's eventually going to lead to darkness. Because if
Mm.
you're trying to get better, you're not going to be walking in darkness. You're not.
Hmm.
That's just the reality of it.
Right.
If
Right.
you're doing what you need to do to try to get better, I understand some people say, "Well, I just keep trying and it doesn't work." Okay, well then sometimes what you need to do is realize that how you're trying may be the issue.
The
You know what I'm
You know
process.
saying?
what? Yeah. And to further that, right? Some people say to themselves, okay, I know I need to take care of myself, but they don't even know what that looks like. They don't even know what it looks like to take care of themselves. They become so indecisive that they don't even want to make a decision and they run back to taking care of other people. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, and that's it's so dangerous that you can almost say that you taking care of people is like an addictive drug because once you come out of saying, okay, I'm going to take care of me, and you are, you know, in a position where I don't even know what to do, I'm gonna just go back to this because I'm gonna go to what I know. I'll give you an example, right? A few years ago, there was a guy named Steve, right? Steve was on out here in Camden, and he was panhandling and stuff like that. Guy, you probably seen me bring him to the church and everything a couple times. And I remember seeing him at the Wawa, and something was just drawn to me, right? You know, he was just drawn to me for a reason. So I gave him some money to get himself cleaned up, get a hotel or something like that. Gave him food and everything for the day. Now, I don't normally share this story and everything, but for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to share it because I don't like really sharing things that, you know, on what I'm giving and everything to people because I believe that that stuff can be done in secret and everything. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to share the story. So my wife and I, we were helping them, and we were not in a position to help this man at all or anything like that. It was just something that God was just calling us to do. Couple weeks go by, I see him again at the Walmart. He's sitting down, panhandling again. I was like, "Oh, dog, what happened? Like, I thought you was going to get yourself cleaned up. I thought everything was gonna be straight." He's like, "Yeah, man, it was just hard. Like everything was hard. Like I appreciate the $100 you gave me, but everything was is just really hard." Like, so I said, "Yo," so I started sitting down, I started talking to him, and he just needed somebody to talk to. And at that moment, he um he then started expressing, his story. He gave me a story, what he was about, what happened to him, how he got on the street, this, that, and the third, how he got on drugs and all of that. And we started to develop a relationship. I started to see him more often. Week after week, I would check up on him. I would always go to the Wawa because I would know he would just be there. And I'd be like, "Yo, are you good? Do you need anything? You need clothes, whatever." So we would get him clothes. I threw out, a lot of my clothes, gave it to him. Turns out we were the same size. So he had a lot of my clothes and stuff like that. But the ultimate goal was to get him comfortable enough to trust us to say, "Listen, do you really want to get off the street and get yourself clean?" I ended up getting him a job, ended up even helping him to get clean, and he was ready to do it. Before he went to go get clean, he came to our church, and that day we were having a baptism service, and he was just watching everybody get baptized, and he said, "Kenny, man, I gotta get in that water. I gotta get in that water. I gotta get in that water." So I went to one of the ushers and said and told them and tried to, politic that for him. And they ended up allowing him, even though he wasn't on the roster to get baptized, they wasn't going to turn him down. That man went in that water and he got baptized that day, right? Comes out the next day, we ship him up to North Jersey to the rehab spot, to the detox spot to get clean. One day goes by, it's really tough. When you on heavy drugs like that, I won't disclose the drug that he was on, but just know that it was super heavy. When you on heavy drugs like that, it could get your body goes through this transformation. Now he's transforming. And sometimes when you're transforming, things hurt, right?
Right.
It's a pruning
Right.
process. So day 1 goes by, it was tough. Day 2 goes by, it was tough. Day 3 goes by, it was tough. He had one more day to go, and then he can go back to go into rehab at this point. And at this point, he calls me and he says, "Kenny, I tried, man. I tried, but I just can't do it. I can't do it. Like my body can't take it any longer. Like I signed myself out and I'm headed and I'm hopping on the train." And I'm like, "What? Like, wait, no, stay. Are you still there?" He said, "Nah, man, I left already. I already signed myself out." Before I can even talk him back into staying and trying to sticking it out, he had already left and went back, came back down to Camden and got back on drugs. And he said, "Listen, man, I appreciate everything that you did for me. I love you, man. I'll never forget you." Guys, that was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, right? I haven't seen him since until last Saturday. Last Saturday, I'm driving down to DC with my family, and we're driving, through Camden to get there, about to get on the bridge. And I'm at the stoplight, and I'm like, "Man," I said, "There goes Steve, y'all. There goes Steve." I rolled the window down. I said, "Steve, you good?" He said, "Yeah, I'm good, Kenny. I love you, man. But guys, let me tell you, he did not look how he didn't look how he looked when we cleaned him up. When we cleaned him up, he looked like he was ready to take over the world. But this man didn't look how he looked, right?" And I rolled the window down. I said, "Steve, you good? We miss you, man." He was like, "I miss you too, Kenny." But while he was doing it, guys, he was so high out of his mind that he still remembered who I was. Like it's like, man, although that you're in a dark place, there's always going to be a voice that says, "Listen, hear me, come this way," because we go not by sight, but by hearing. We don't move, we don't move by sight. We move by faith alone, right? And as we move through that, I just want everybody to understand this. It doesn't matter how dark you get in the world. It doesn't matter how deep you get. There's always going to be a voice that calls you to go in the direction on where you need to go.
Amen.
So I
Amen.
just wanted to give y'all that, man. That
That's a powerful testimony, and it has a lot to do with you guys said plan and you guys said process,
Amen.
right? So I think that as we self-reflect, we can't just self-reflect on ourselves, right? It's beneficial, but you need to have a plan and know it's going to be a process.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, guys.
Yeah, I mean it's
So
it's tough. It's tough, like you said, it's tough, and it is definitely a process. And I think if there's anything that we can leave folks with, I think it's that idea that understand that it is a process, and in some instances it's going to take time, in some instances it's going to be painful. It is a pruning process, but it is a process nonetheless. And if you just give yourself the patience to get through it, right? If you work on enduring, because like you were talking about, Kenny, this brother, had one more day, but I can't speak to the kind of level of pain that he was going through while trying to get through that process.
right,
You know what I'm saying? And
right.
so sometimes we have to be willing to try to stay the course, as
Of course.
painful as certain things may be, when we're in
Yes.
that process of getting better. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to stay in toxic situations. We don't want to stay in destructive situations. And again, that's where we've got to analyze and see the difference between when am I in kind of like that detox type of situation versus when I'm in a toxic situation. You know what I'm
Amen.
saying? And there's a difference. And if we can work that out within ourselves, if we can work that out with the people around us, we will be
Mm.
better for it on the other side. It's just
Amen.
it's a process. Don't look
It's a
for it to happen
process.
overnight. Don't
Yeah.
expect, oh, you know what? I made a change today. All of a sudden it's not. It's not all of a sudden going to happen. Just as long as it took you to get into whatever areas, whatever mindset, whatever difficulties, it may take just as much time, if not in some instances longer to get out of it. And so be
That's right.
patient with yourself. Take
Amen.
your time. And while you don't see the fruit of it right away, just be persistent. Be
Amen.
persistent, and stick to the plan. As Guy
Stick
was
to the
talking
plan.
about, stick to that plan and just keep moving forward. And before you realize it, you'll be out of it and you won't even, then you'll be like, dang, how did I get here?
Mm.
How did I get to this point? And then you'll have the opportunity to be able to look back at it all and say, wow, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad that I was able to get here. And I'm glad that God was able to get me to this point. So if you feel like you're in that dark place, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, take one step, just one step. You know
Just
what I'm saying?
one.
One step at a
Yeah.
time. You know what I'm
Just
saying?
one.
And be patient with yourself and just keep moving forward towards that light. Eventually
Amen.
that light will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you'll see yourself in the sunshine and it'll feel so much better.
There it
Mm.
is. There it is. Listen up, everybody. We running out of time and everything right now. But I think, fellas, I think we're gonna have to do a part 2 on this one. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a really, really good conversation. You know what I'm saying? Listen up, everyone. If you guys are enjoying this, listen, make sure y'all go ahead and share this with your mama, your daddy, your uncle, your auntie, your grandma, your grandpa, abuela, abuelo. Share with everybody. Anybody that is in a dark time, anybody that was going through a dark time, share this conversation and everything with them. Expand on the conversation yourself and let us know how what dark times you've been through and how did you get through it. All right. We're waiting to hear from you guys as well. All right. So listen, with that being said, next week we are back at our regular time, 8:30 Thursday, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. So go ahead and make sure that you guys are here, ready to go, ready to rock. Okay. It's going to be an amazing, amazing time. We got some surprises and everything coming up within the next couple of weeks as well too. Some giveaways that we're going to be doing as well with some special guests that are going to be coming your way here on the Kenneth Allen Thomas Show. With that being said, remember, always, like we always say, yesterday is gone, tomorrow worry about itself. Today is all we have. And if today is all we have, you make sure you impact today the best way you know how. When we change the mind, we change the
Change the
game.
game. Go.
Change the game, y'all. We check y'all later. One love, y'all. One love. Peace, peace.